What's up YouTube, this is Mathos97 and welcome to the State of the Channel 2016 edition. That's right, we've made it through another year on the YouTube, the doohickey. Yes, we made it through another year on YouTube and it's time for another State of the Channel video. Of course, since this video is being posted December 31st, that means that the Slammy Award, the voting polls, are now closed. So if you didn't take part in the Slammy Awards, if you did not vote for that, well, you missed your chance. Had to close the polls for that. We're gonna start getting to work on those in the next coming month or so. I'm thinking what I'm gonna do, as of right now, I'm gonna have a Slammy Awards special right before WrestleMania. It'll be kind of like a WrestleMania pre-show sort of thing, just kind of looking back on the previous year in universe mode and going over those Slammy Awards. There might be a couple matches for it, just to, I don't know. I want to make it a little bit more special than I did in WWE 2K15, where it was just kind of throw in who the winners are, and then just make it a regular episode of whatever it was at the time. This year, I think I might try to spice up the presentation for it a little bit. Of course, that, along with WrestleMania, should give me a pretty full plate, but I still think that I can manage. Speaking of the universe mode, I do want to mention, I'll probably throw up a graphic on screen, but I've tried to work out for this year, an official pay-per-view schedule. I posted it on Twitter a while back, but I'm not sure how many of you actually follow me on Twitter, so if you don't already, you can find me at Mathos97X over there. I post some important stuff over there, and some not important stuff, so yeah, if you feel like that's something that you should do, then be sure to follow me on my Twitter. So, for this schedule, I'm thinking that I'm gonna have WrestleMania done. I wanted to, with Roadblock, the goal was to have it up December 30th, and then give myself at least a good 2 months to work on WrestleMania, because this show is gonna be, it's gonna be huge. Bigger than the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble actually wasn't as big as I was expecting it to be. I was worried it was gonna be 4 hours or something crazy. And while the Royal Rumble should have been a bit longer than it was, initially when I kind of started that matchup, my pacing, the pacing of the moments could have been better. It was a little quick, a little rushed, trying to fit everything in. And then eventually I just said, screw it, we're not gonna stick to the 90-second time limit. Because I had Goldberg's entrance. Of course, spoilers, if you haven't already seen the Royal Rumble, you should do that because Goldberg was in it. And I might also mention the winner here. I don't know where this is gonna go. So yeah, spoilers if you haven't already seen it. But with Goldberg's entrance, the 90 seconds was, I think he was still in the middle of his entrance by the time the 90 seconds were up. And I was like, okay, this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna have to be more flexible with these times. So what I did at that point was if I had an entry like that where the entrance was super long or something super dramatic, at that point I was a little more flexible with the time. It didn't necessarily have to be 90 seconds. It could be a little over before the next entry. Whereas with a guy like Braun Strowman, his entrance, I should have expanded the time on that, but by that point I didn't even think about expanding the time until I think it was Goldberg's entrance. That was when I had decided, okay, I can be more flexible with this. But I already had footage recorded, and to then expand on all the previous entries would have meant that I would have had to go back and record new footage and somehow try to integrate that with everything that I had already edited. It just wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work. But for those of you who might have thought that, well, the 40-man Royal Rumble was a last-minute decision, no, not by a long shot. I had been planning this 40-man Rumble for months, and the reason why I did that, I could have had a 30-man Rumble this year, to be honest, but I felt like everything would have been really rushed. You need a little bit of breathing room in a Royal Rumble. You need those kind of filler entries where someone can just go out and get tossed. You need to have guys like that because it gives a little bit of breathing room so that it's not just oh my god, CM Punk returned, oh my god, Goldberg is here, oh my god, this guy, this is all happening, this guy returned. It's just, you need a little bit of breathing room, which is why I decided to expand it to a 40-man Rumble this year, because otherwise I wasn't going to I wasn't gonna have enough room to get everything done that I wanted to get done. So that's why I ended up doing that. I was a little disappointed with the reception of the Royal Rumble, more like I set the bar for myself way too high. And this stems from Survivor Series, because Survivor Series got a lot more views than I was expecting it to. I think right now it's sitting at something like 27,000, which was ridiculous because it was I uploaded that in like July, and usually by that point the hype for the game is dead. Nobody is interested in it except, you know, the loyal viewer base, the people who are already, usually that's not when your new traffic comes in. But I guess because it was the summer, usually there's a bit of a spike there because people have more free time on their hands, unless you're in like Australia, in which case it was winter and you had whatever it is that you Australians do in the winter. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Anyways, so Survivor Series did a lot better than I was expecting, and that kind of gave me unrealistic expectations for the Royal Rumble. I mean, I'm really happy with, in terms of like the feedback and all of that, how it was received. Right now it's sitting at about 9,000 views, which is good. That's usually what happens. It's, between that and episode 1, they're both doing really well. They're slowly climbing to my most popular videos list, which happens. That's usually what happens. The first pay-per-view and the first episode usually go up there. So that's why if you look at my most popular page, it's a bunch of like WWE 2K16 episode 1, 2K15, 2K14 episode 1, General Manager episode 1, then you have like SummerSlam from 2K16, Royal Rumble from 2K15, you know, all the first pay-per-views, SummerSlam 2K14, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And then you do have a couple of outliers in there, but for the most part, it's usually the first stuff that does really well. And that's what these two episodes are on track to do, the Royal Rumble and 2K17 episode 1. At the end of the day, they're probably, like, by the time 2K18 rolls around, I expect them to be kind of up around where my most popular videos kind of are now. So like 2K17 I think would be up around, I don't know, just looking at the views on these things, maybe around like 27,000 or something, just because over the course of a year, you get all that time to accumulate videos. Everyone goes to the first episode, and then they'll, you know, usually like the first pay-per-view. And since it's the Royal Rumble, usually that's a pretty good one in terms of everybody getting excited for it. Everybody knows what the Royal Rumble is. Everybody knows what to expect. So those will get there. I guess because of how well Survivor Series was received, I guess I just kind of thought that the Royal Rumble was even gonna blow that out of the water. Like, I was thinking it's gonna do even better than episode 1. It's gonna be at the top of the top on my page. But I set the bar a little too high for myself. Some unrealistic expectations on my part. So that's kind of what I deserve for setting the bar so high. It was a little unrealistic of me to think that, but still, I'm really happy with how it was received. I'm not gonna knock 9,000 views. It's already, like I said, in that like top, I don't know, what is this, like top 30 videos usually is what the first page displays. So I'm really happy with how the channel has been going this year. I feel like I've made a lot of progress, both in terms of the subscriber count, the view counts, the comment count, everything like that, in terms of the statistics, but as well in terms of me personally, my editing. I feel like everything has gotten better. My ability to write these stories, to plan everything out. I feel like the whole production has gotten better, and I'm hoping to continue to improve on that in the years to come. One thing that I was kind of disappointed about this year was my career mode. Now, as you know, I did cut the series short at episode 24. It kind of ended on this sort of like ambiguous ending. It's like, oh, is this the end? Because I wasn't entirely sure if I was gonna try to go back to it, because I don't like to just prematurely end series like that. I like to usually ride it out to some sort of conclusion. In 2K15, it ended up with Jetstorm getting fired. In 2K16, we made it to the NXT Championship. You know, those could at least be considered sort of climaxes to the story. Not so much with 2K17. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'll give it a little bit of time, give it some time for me to cool off on the mode, and maybe try to go back and salvage something. I was thinking about possibly doing a custom My Career, which is still kind of on the cards, but at the moment, I don't see myself picking that series back up again. Ever since I dropped it, I've been able to focus attention into the new GM mode, the 2007 GM mode. Focus most of my 2K17 attention on Universe mode, which is good, because I've been able to... I know the game was released a little bit earlier this year, but I'm still glad that I was able to get 2 pay-per-views done before the end of 2016. At the time of recording this, I still have a little more work to do on Roadblock. I still have to edit the matches and dub over most of the stuff. I do have some of it done. But by the time that this video goes up, I should have it all finished. If not, well, then it should be coming very, very soon. That just means that I suffered a setback or two, but it shouldn't be anything too major. But yeah, my career, I'm not gonna pick that one up. Maybe I'll do like if I did a custom My Career where I just sort of wrote everything myself, it would probably be its own separate series. It would still sort of stem from where this My Career left off, but that's probably the most that I'm gonna get out of that. I don't even know if I'm going to do that custom My Career yet. Not entirely sure. So that 2K17 series, it's done. I'm not gonna pick that one back up. So I just wanted to address that here, since this is what I do in the state of the channel. It's the state of everything going on this channel. Of course, I didn't mention this to this point, but I probably should have addressed it at the beginning of the video. The Q&A, I'm gonna hold off to the very end. If you've checked the timestamps in the description, which I usually put on these videos, you will have already seen that, and you might have already skipped ahead to it. But I just want to throw that in there if you are sticking around, if you have watched the first 11 or so minutes of this, and you're wondering, well, where's the Q&A? When's the Q&A gonna start? Maybe you didn't know that there were timestamps in the description, so that's all there if you are interested in that. I should have given you enough time now that if you wanted to skip ahead to it, you've already done so. But one other thing that I cover on these State of the Channel videos, it's more also sort of a state of the life, so to speak. I don't even know how to address that, but other things going on that don't necessarily, I mean, they do tie into YouTube, but not in an immediate sense. It's more like my real life situation that affects how I make videos, I guess. But yes, by this point, I've now gone through my first semester of college, and that went really well. Finals went over well. I'm feeling really, really confident in my grades, so to speak. Living at college, at least for this first year, because I'm not working on campus because I worked before going to college, and I tried to save up the majority of that in order to tackle my monstrous tuition that I'm going to have to be dealing with over the near future, the foreseeable future. That is the giant monster that I have to overcome, because debt is not fun. So this first year, I didn't plan on working. I just wanted to get a grasp of how college life would go for me. I don't know how that's gonna work in the future because I'm still working here at home when I'm off. So like this winter break, I'm gonna be working and making some money there. A couple days that we had off for Thanksgiving break, I worked as well, just to try to make whatever I could. And also, getting a little bit of the ad revenue from YouTube definitely helps, although at the moment it's just kind of sitting in a separate place because I don't spend a lot of money. Like this year, I bought WWE 2K17, I bought Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think that was it. I think that was basically, like, I bought a couple of music CDs. I maybe spent like at max like $100 on music. I guess I did buy some other games because I had to buy back that GameCube that I foolishly sold as a child. That was on my like bucket list. So I did buy that and the Pokemon games for it. So that was a bit more expensive than it would have than I would have liked. But other than that, like I don't spend much. I don't really need anything. Like I call myself a gamer, but I don't know how I fall, because I could consider myself a casual gamer in that really the only thing that I play is Pokemon and WWE. And the only reason I play WWE anymore is because I make YouTube videos on it, because when I'm not making YouTube videos on it, I don't touch the game, unless it's something for my YouTube videos, like making attires or whatever. But like my career, I haven't touched that mode since I dropped the series, and I doubt that I'm going to go back to it. So in that sense, I'm a casual gamer, but at the same time, because I make YouTube videos on it, am usually gaming at least once a week, if not more so. I spend a lot of time doing it. So I don't know if you can really call me a casual gamer, because I make YouTube videos and that's the majority of what I do. So I consider a casual gamer to be like, you don't spend much time gaming, but I spend a lot of time gaming. So I don't know where I fall, because if people are like, oh, well, you're a pretty hardcore gamer, so have you played this game or this game? And 9.99 times out of 10, I have not played the game that you're speaking of. Doesn't matter if it's a modern game, an older game. You know, it's more likely that if it's like an older game, I might have played it, just because as a kid, I did spend more time playing diverse games than I do now. But yeah, I don't really play a variety of games. So when everyone's talking about, oh, the new Call of Duty, the new Destiny, the new what else came out this year? Was there a new Titanfall? I don't know. Was there? I don't know. I don't know what games came out this year, because I don't pay any attention to them, because I don't play them. But yeah, none of them. I have not played any of them. The only new games that I've played are WWE 2K17 and Pokemon Moon. I haven't even touched Pokemon Sun yet, and I bought them like a month ago. I've just been so focused with YouTube and finals that I haven't done that, so I'll have to probably do that at some point as well. But yeah, college life, so far so good. I definitely have had a lot more free time, because I'm not... That's the thing. There's a lot less time spent in classes at university as opposed to high school. So while it's not like I'm getting any less work, it's less time consuming, and that really does help. Because obviously my grades are I'm still doing well academically, but I have so much more time that I can dedicate to this YouTube thing. And I will touch on my sort of future plans with YouTube later on in the video, but this year my goal is to dump as much time into this as possible and try to really expand my channel, start to really try to get it to take off. And because I have all of this free time now, it really helps that I'm able to dedicate more time to making my videos, because I'm spending less time in school. I'm not working, which took up a majority of my week, was high school and working. And, you know, you might say, well, high school's not difficult, you know, you haven't even experienced life, you know, this is only the beginning of a downward spiral, or something like that. I don't know, that's a bit of a pessimistic way to look at it, but I know a lot of people do look at it that way. But just the thing with high school, even if it's not difficult, it's still like time consuming, because that's usually at least 7.5 hours a day, if not 8 hours a day, spent in a building. So that's almost in terms of time, the amount of like a full-time job. Now, it's not to say that it's as difficult as a full-time job, because I doubt that it is, but it is time consuming, and that's the thing. Time that I'm now spending on making YouTube videos, all the time that I spend editing. The Royal Rumble, if I had done that last year, there's no way it would have been out as quickly as it was. And I mean, it took me like a month to get it done, but there was like, I think a span of like 2 weeks where that was basically all I was doing, was working on the Royal Rumble match. Well, not the Royal Rumble match, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself. I'll give myself a bit of credit there that it wasn't just the Royal Rumble match specifically. I don't know if it was necessarily that time consuming. But if you've seen the Behind the Universe video on it, then you'd know it took a lot of work, took a lot of time. There's a lot of footage I had to go through. But if this were last year, when I was working part-time, working at least like 20, 25, close to 30 hours a week, plus the amount of time that I was spending in high school, no, that Royal Rumble probably wouldn't have gotten done until like December. But I am happy. I am happy with the way that things are now. I should probably do more things socially. I should probably go out there and try to socialize with other college students more than I do, but I'll get there. I'll get there at some point. But for right now, focusing on YouTube has kind of been, obviously focusing on my classes, keeping my grades in a good condition, but also focusing on YouTube, try to get this thing off the ground, because with what I want to do in life, I'm an electronic media major, and that's kind of open-ended. You can do a lot with that. And I'm kind of hoping with this YouTube thing, not only to try to figure out, you know, what is my sort of niche, what am I looking to do in the electronic media field? Am I looking for anything specific, like even if it's 1 or 2 or 3 things, what do I want to like zero in on, what do I want to focus on? But also, this helps to get my name out there. So if I'm looking to put together a demo reel, I have all of this work that I've done. And this does help me sort of transition to another major thing that happened, which is not really related to this channel, but it was related to YouTube, was that now I am working for Forever a Movement. I don't know if working really is the proper word, but I'm helping them. I'm editing for them. I've made a couple of promo videos for them. If you check out my favorites playlist on my channel, you can see the 2 that I made. One of them was Death's Angel versus 2TM at Survival, and the other one was ROM versus Killswitch at FAM Pandora. And those were really fun to make. I think I'm going to be working on another one. Perhaps, I know that I have some extra free time, so I was trying to see if I could maybe work on more than one for their next event. I didn't have anything to do production-wise with the FAMI Awards, but for their next event, the Royal Rumble, I should definitely be getting involved there as well. And I'm looking forward to that. That has been fun. Back in January, when they had their auditions, where they would just say, hey, submit stuff and see if you can become, I don't know, see if you want to join FAM, something like that. That was never something that I really looked for. Not until 2K14, not until their Royal Rumble did I even know what FAM was. Like, because I was in a WWE Games League for roughly 3 years to that point, I had heard of FAM, like they had been mentioned throughout the chat with the people that I was talking with, but I never really had seen their stuff. I didn't really know what it was that they did. But once I saw, really it was the whole like YouTube promotion for it, how they got like Smack Talks, Tubby Emu, Tony Pete's guy, really everybody, 101, they got a ton of people to promote that event. And that was how I really got introduced to it. They had all these people coming in for the Royal Rumble match, and it was going to be this super big thing. And that was how I was introduced to FAM. All of the outside YouTuber promotion brought me into it. Said, okay, let's see what this is about. Let's see what all the hype is about. And from there, I've been a fan. It was never something that I expected to join. I always sort of watched it as, oh, this is really cool. I don't know exactly, I mean, it wasn't something that I ever thought that I would join. But then when they had their auditions, I figured, why not? You know, I'm looking to use this platform as a way for me to get my name out there, to try to get some exposure, so that if I ever am looking for a job in the future, I have something to reference, and people can be like, oh, this guy, he's a bit of a personality on the internet. You know, however many subscribers or whatever I would have, however many videos I would have by that point, views, whatever the case may be, whatever they look for. I don't know, I'm not a business promoter or whatever. But whatever they're looking for, I could put it on my resume. I make YouTube videos. I could, for my demo reel, I could put together a bunch of different stuff that I made at college or made for YouTube. A lot of different things. And I felt like joining FAM, not necessarily joining it, but just like throwing my name out there, giving it a shot, just to see, you know, why not? It's a chance for me to get some extra exposure, so let me throw my name in the hat, just to see what happens. So I threw together a demo reel of sorts. I threw together just a few clips from, I think it was SummerSlam. I think that was basically all that I threw together, was just clips from SummerSlam, some bits of my commentary, some bits of my promotional videos, and they liked it, and here I am now, almost a year later, and I'm a part of FAM. I've made 2 videos for them, looking to make some more in the future. It's just a fun time. You know, it's good for me to experiment with different stuff. Working, I think, more so on the recent one that I made for Pandora, I feel like that one gave me more of a chance to experiment with like different video overlays, just try to work with different techniques. For my videos now, my promotional videos that I make for pay-per-views, I'm kind of trying to get away from them a little bit, just because the way that I have done them in the past, where it's just sort of throw together like a rock song and throw together a bunch of clips with different effects. It's good for me to practice those sort of effects, but at the same time, what does it really add to the pay-per-view? You know, it's just sort of a flashy display of effects and hard-hitting action, but really, what does it do to showcase the actual stories going into the pay-per-view? How does it highlight the things that, you know, the what makes this pay-per-view special? What exactly is it highlighting? All it's doing is throwing together like a rock song or metal or whatever, and a bunch of flashy effects and cool action clips, and that's about it. Survivor Series was different because that one was all about Team Rollins, Team Ambrose, which is not to say that I'm going to get away from making those promo videos entirely, because I can do some good stuff there, and I definitely have a few planned for WrestleMania. But rather than try to make sure that I get one for each pay-per-view, instead I like to focus on the quality of them, because as I look back on some of these things, I do like all the effects, and I like how I matched everything up with the song to sort of make a story out of that. But I look at the Daniel Bryan promo to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble of 2K15. I look at the Survivor Series promo, Team Ambrose versus Team Rollins. And that's about it. I don't really know any other promos that I made that tell a story like that were all focused on a single moment of build-up or a single feud, something that really would sell you on this match in particular, that it would really help to sell the pay-per-view. Everything else was just sort of, hey, this pay-per-view is coming up, here's a cool montage, have fun, hope you enjoy. And I kind of would like to shy away from that. I feel as though working for FAM has really helped me to do that, not only because I am working on the whole video production of it, but I've also played a big part in writing the scripts for those promos. Not to say that I've completely written them, but with some input from some guys at FAM, I have definitely been a major part in the promos that I've written. I mean, just looking back at the Pandora one that I made, that one there were a few parts that weren't written by me, but the majority of it I wrote myself. And of course, it did have to be passed through, show it to the guys at FAM, so that way, if there's something that they don't agree with, because in my first initial draft of that, I don't think I quite got the characters that I was trying to portray, so I did make a few mistakes that they corrected. I was kind of taking it in a different direction than what they were hoping for, and that makes sense. I can understand that because it's their personalities, but it has helped me to really sort of understand not just the characters of FAM and how to potentially write for them in the future should I do another promo for them, but it also helps me to help with writing promos in the future, not just for FAM, but for my own channel as well. And I've experimented with different effects as well, visually, to make those promos more interesting, and I could also use those in my own videos, which is what I have done. The FAM Pandora promo, that one personally, I like far better than my Survival promo, just because, well, for one thing, it's like 7 minutes, so there's a lot to really dissect in there, but I feel like with that one, I did a much better job at capturing an emotional core to it. Like, there was a lot going on, a lot of different parts to that, but I feel like that one, it might have been a bit slower paced, but I like that because it was something different. It was something far different than what I've ever made. Usually, all my stuff is fast-paced, hard-hitting. It's all about, strike now, strike next, keep the momentum going. Whereas with that one, not to say that I was trying to derail momentum, but it was a bit slower paced. It really sort of, it gave extra breathing room to really tell the story leading up to that matchup. And that's why that one in particular really stands out for me. That's the one that I really like the most that I've made so far. To say that I would like that more so than the promos that I've made for this channel, I don't know, it's really tough, because the Survivor Series one that I made I really like as well. But that one, they're two completely different beasts. One, I'm also writing words for it, and the other one, I'm letting the song do the talking. And in the case of the Survivor Series promo, that one really worked because that song was amazing. It was just perfect for the rivalry I was going for. And then for the other one, for FAM, I usually use more instrumental music and let the dialogue from the superstars do the talking. So it's two completely different approaches, and that's good. That's what I like to have because it gives me more diversity with what I'm working on. And that's good to have in the future, because if I'm looking for a job doing something like this, whether that be editing or script writing or honestly, whatever. It's just good to have that. It's good to be diverse, to be able to do different things, and FAM has given me a big opportunity to do that. So I want to use this as an opportunity to thank them for letting me join, inviting me in, giving me the chance, and bringing me along for the ride. They've produced some amazing stuff, perhaps some of their best stuff ever in the past year or so, and it should only get better from here. Just from what I've seen, from what I've heard, it should only get better from here. So we're looking to move beyond. No, I don't have time. I don't have time to keep going with this. We'll be back for part 2. So while we're on the topic of doing different things, this brings me to what may perhaps have been the eye catch down in the description in terms of the timestamps. And yes, you did read that correctly if you did check out the description. Anime videos. Am I actually seriously considering making anime videos? Is this some sort of premature April Fool's joke? Am I just trying to get the early drop on the juicy April Fool's trickery? No, this is actually a thing that I am considering, because let's face it, if I'm not making YouTube videos, what else consumes my spare time? Anime. That's what I watch. That's my form of entertainment. If I'm not on YouTube, if I'm not making YouTube videos, I'm probably watching anime. And in case you haven't noticed, in my Behind the Universe series, I've started to shift more towards scripted content. Not necessarily in a complete sense, but, with the introduction of a Behind the Universe, where I'm writing out scripts and doing all of this, I am really into writing. I'm really into just storytelling. And I mean, you can also see the shift in my universe mode, where I'm shifting more towards, I'm planning everything out, whether that be the matches, the storylines, everything I have planned out. And I'm trying to take a different direction with my universe mode to sort of cater towards my interest in writing, my interest in crafting a story, as it were. And anime is the perfect medium. Well, it's not just anime, just TV, movies, novels, really just any sort of entertainment media in general is a really good thing to explore in terms of writing, for seeing how stories are structured, seeing what to do, what not to do. And honestly, anime really just sort of reignited my passion with writing. And I know I say that I don't know if I ever really lost that passion for writing. It just took a more obscure sort of, I had a more obscure outlet of capitalizing on that writing in the past when I was with UCW. I'm thinking about making a little unscripted video, just sort of a casual laid-back video in a couple of days, where I'm not gonna spoil it, but during that time where I thought that I sort of fell out of writing, like I lost that interest in it, that might not actually be true. I just had a different method of capturing that interest. And since I've been watching so much anime, it does take up my spare time when I'm not making YouTube videos or watching YouTube videos. I have considered actually making anime videos, in terms of, well, not necessarily I would become a full-blown anime channel like WWE. Screw that. We're gonna take this channel in a whole different direction. I am looking to take this channel in a slightly different direction, but we're not gonna make like a full-blown switch. It would just be some other sort of content to throw into the mix, something new to try, something for me to experiment with, something where I can, like I said with FAM, trying to target all of these different sort of ideas, just so I can experiment with what I'm capable of, develop some new skills, and that sort of thing. And since I am so interested in writing, I've actually, well, you can see in the timestamps, the description down below, there's going to be a topic sort of discussing this later on, but I'm really interested in writing my own stories, which Universe Mode YouTube in general has kind of taken me away from that. That's more of like, I mean, it's a hobby that I've sort of haven't been able to keep up with because of time and just a creative drive, because most of my time goes into YouTube and making YouTube videos, so that really I'm kind of creatively exhausted. and physically exhausted as well, depending on, you know, what the day has been like. So I just really don't have and mentally exhausted as well, because writing is really mentally sort of taxing, to at least if you want to write well, that is. And this is one thing that I've kind of haven't been able to do as much. But every time that I see an anime that I really enjoyed, or a scene that just really pisses me off, or a scene that really gets me excited, or there's this particular character that really resonates with me, I don't have really, other than my Twitter account, which you should follow me if you haven't already at MathWiz97x, but my Twitter account is really the only place where I can sort of, well, my Twitter account and the comments page of other anime YouTubers, which I have written a lot of words in comments on anime YouTube videos, but I don't know, I feel like I have this platform where I have my own YouTube channel, I have an audience, whether or not my audience is going to watch those videos, but I at least have some sort of a fan base who might, you know, out of my 8,000 subscribers, even if I only get like 3 or 4 of those people to watch my anime videos if I make them, then that's still 3 or 4 people that I would not have back in 2012 when I started this channel. So I feel like even just something to experiment with, it would be a good idea. And plus, if I started, you know, talk about this stuff, I'd have, because I'm not entirely sure like who all my fan base watches anime or not, unless you follow me on Twitter, but like Twitter and the YouTube comment section, there's not really much that I can capture there in terms of, you know, I can vent my opinions, yeah, but I feel like if I made videos about it, I feel like I have a lot to say about anime, whether that be, I mean, not really the medium as a, well, I don't know exactly how I want to phrase it, but just in literature in general, there's a lot that I have to say, and when I see something that I like, I don't know, I really want to just sort of capture my thoughts on it. For example, I've mentioned in a previous Behind the Universe episode, Hunter x Hunter. That's one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite pieces of entertainment media in general, whether that be books, movies, TV, Japanese animation, etc. And, you know, I was able to sort of throw in like a passing reference to it, but I never really actually was able to go in depth and discuss what resonates with me in regards to that show. And as well, if I did make videos on anime, it also kind of gives you a bit of an idea as to like what I'm into, and just my interests, and also, you know, just kind of how I am as a person, because you'll see certain things that connect with me, and then you can kind of get an idea as to, I don't know, how I view life or whatever, I don't really know, but I feel like if I were to take this time and kind of discuss the things in anime that I like, things that I don't like, like certain things that just particularly resonate with me, whether it's a good form of storytelling or a terrible form of storytelling, you know, something that I see after I've watched all of these analytical videos, because that seems to be where my taste has been directing towards, is more analytical content. And even if I don't make anime videos now, anime YouTubers have definitely influenced me. If you take a look at my Behind the Universe series, especially something like Pretend It Never Happened, really just any of those scripted installments, that has a big influence from these anime YouTubers, because they sort of motivated me to take a look back at my content, because I'd always looked back on my WWE 13 stuff and was like, yeah, that's pretty garbage. I never want to watch that. But because I watch these analytical YouTubers, which aren't necessarily just restricted to anime, but those are like the main ones that I watch, who had the biggest influence, it gave me sort of the motivation to go back and actually turn my hatred for WWE 13 Universe Mode, or at least my series, turn that into a series where I can actually not only just, you know, completely trash my WWE 13 Universe Mode, but I can completely trash all of my other videos regarding Universe Mode. Anything that I did poorly, I can add sort of a comedic flair to it. I can make it entertaining and make a video series on it, and it has been a pretty successful series on this channel. Now, not to say that the anime videos would be successful, because if you've seen my Pokemon videos, you don't even have to watch them, because most of you don't. But if you've seen the view counts on a Pokemon video compared to a Universe Mode video, yeah, obviously that's not necessarily, the views are not going to translate, but hey, even for me to just sort of give something new a shot, even if it flops, I'm still doing something that I enjoy. I'm talking about something that I enjoy talking about, and whether that would be like analyzing a character, making like a top, you know, the dreaded top 10 lists that are all over the internet, all over YouTube. I don't know, I feel like that would be kind of an easy place to start, just to kind of give you guys a more of an insight to me as a person, as well as what I enjoy to watch. But then after that, I don't know if that's necessarily where I would start, or if I would also try to look more into the analytical stuff, because see, if I hadn't started watching anime, I don't think that the direction in my Universe Mode would have changed as drastically as it did. Now, sure, I probably could have watched other entertainment media other than anime, and maybe had the same sort of similar effect, maybe, but watching anime, I feel like, is what really helped me not only spark, you know, a new sort of creative depth, in that I'm actually now planning out all of my storylines, and I'm trying to focus more on individual characters, try to make them feel unique, try to improve the product as a whole from not just a technical perspective, but also from the behind the scenes, the writing process, the booking, all of that stuff. Watching anime has really helped me sort of rekindle my interest in that type of thing, and now that I'm older and I actually have, you know, a decent capability to write, at the very least, honestly, my videos have gotten better. If you take a look at any video from WWE 13, take a look at a video from 2K14, even 2K15, for all I care, even 2K16, take a look at one of those random videos and take a look at a random 2K17 video, the quality has gotten better. As you can tell in this sort of rambly segment, is that there's a lot I can say about it. I have a very strong passion for this medium, and there's a lot that I could talk about, which is why my thoughts are all over the place, because there's so much that I'm trying to say and trying to combine it all into this session. But I don't want this to go on for too long. But if you would be interested in, you know, seeing content like that, seeing me talk about anime, I actually do have a video that I think I'm going to be working on. I have several video ideas already that I could work on. It's just a matter of actually going through and producing them, which in 2017, I think I am going to try my hand at making anime videos, whether that be just sort of, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a broad review or top 10 videos. It could be in-depth analysis, because what anime has really given me in these past 2 years, almost 3 years that I've been watching anime, it has helped me to appreciate, and well, I guess it's not just anime, it's also the YouTubers I've been watching, but I've come to appreciate even just like the smaller details in a show, something that make it not only just unique, but perhaps it could turn a terrible show into, you know, a bad show, but it's not completely unsalvageable. You know, just the difference between a 3 out of 10 and a 4 out of 10, or like a 1.5 and a 1 out of 10. I know one of my big influences at the moment is Digibro. He makes excellent analysis content. He was a huge inspiration for me when I started to take a look at Behind the Universe, when that started to become a concept in my head. So if in any way you're interested in anime, check out his stuff. He's got amazing content. The Asterisk War Sucks is probably a personal favorite of mine, where he goes into like this, I don't remember how many parts it was. I think it was like 12, maybe 13 parts, where he just talks about this show, which has gained huge popularity in the anime fandom. I think this was released back in 2015 at the time, but it was this widely popular show. And, you know, some people say, well, it's just average, but, you know, he goes into why it is, in fact, worse than average, and how calling it average is actually sort of a slap in the face to the term average, and just to any other shows that are actually average. And he goes into what all this show does wrong and what other things have done correctly that this show fails to do. And even if that's a lot of really being, you could say that's being overly critical, overly negative. If you wanted to, you could focus your time on something else. But that has really helped me take a critical sort of magnoscope. That's not even a word. Magnifying glass. That's what I was looking for. Take sort of this tiny, tiny lens to my own product and look at things that I could have done better. Look at things that I could do better based on my previous mistakes. So I'm gonna go ahead and cap this topic off here so I can move on. But if you would be interested in seeing me make some anime videos, let me know down in the comments section. Let me know if there are any anime in particular that you enjoy. I'm sure if you're not interested in anime, you're not listening to this segment because I have timestamps in the description. So if you're still listening, I know that you either enjoy anime or you just enjoy the sound of my lovely, lovely voice. In which case, I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. But yes, if there's one idea in particular that I think I would start off with, where I would actually talk about anime music videos, or AMVs. And the reason why I would do this is because AMVs, I've said it in the past, but AMVs play a huge inspiration in, the promos that I've done way back since TLC and WWE 2K14. All of the editing techniques that I use in those promos are inspired by AMVs. So for my first video, I can't really think of a more appropriate place to start for sort of introducing anime videos to the channel is to talk about these AMVs, because they're not completely disconnected from anything else that I do, because they played a huge factor in how I edited those promos in the first place. And without anime, without AMVs, my promo like the Survivor Series, Team Rollins versus Team Ambrose, would have been radically different than what it ended up being. And that's one of my personal favorite videos on this channel as a whole. So that's just to give an idea of where I could potentially be going with the future of this channel. If you're interested, let me know down in the comments section. Even if you're not interested in seeing me talk about that type of thing, if you enjoy anime, we can have a conversation down in the comments section. What's your favorite anime? I don't know. So now that I've rambled and gone on a bunch of tangents about anime, let's talk about something else new to the channel: original content. Now, as I discussed in the anime section, but I'm gonna delve into it a bit deeper here, I am very interested in writing, and I'm in the process, very slow process of writing my own story. I actually have 2 in the works right now. And when I say in the works, I mean that I've written maybe about 2 chapters of each. I have 2 chapters on the one, and I think if I'm lucky, I might have 3 chapters on the other. But at the very least, that second one, where I have maybe possibly 3 chapters, I have a whole plot synopsis sort of mapped out on that. And while I'm not gonna discuss those types of details here, I've been thinking about possibly trying to turn these stories, figure out a way to speed up sort of production on that, because like I've said, YouTube takes up a lot of my spare time, and as a result, I'm creatively exhausted. I can't really focus on those stories because I'm just mentally burnt out by the time I actually have the time to work on them, because I have I have higher priorities that take precedence over writing those stories. But in order to try to help speed up production on those stories, I've considered whether that be in a video format or on maybe the Brennan Plays forums, or if I could potentially start up my own website or something, find a way to make those stories public, kind of like how comics will do, or the Japanese manga, where it's sort of being written as it's published, and I would just probably publish a chapter in a forum post or something, or if I made my own website at some point, which I should probably look into doing, all things considered, because a website would be really useful, especially moving forward if I want to do stuff like this as a living, not only just having this YouTube channel, but having some other platform where, I could be, I don't know, something else to just show, hey, I'm an internet personality, but also I can do this, and I can do all these sorts of things, and look at me, I'm special. Whatever the case, just having a place to post those stories might actually get me, it would give me a reason to keep going back to them, to keep working on them, which is why I feel like if I could post them in a video format, that'd be great. But at this stage, all I could really do is like have scrolling text and read everything, which would definitely give me a chance to practice voice acting, which is something that I'm interested in, but I don't feel like that's really the way to go. So the only thing that I could really see happening at this point were to post those stories in, like I said, a website of some sort, and just sort of post them there, whether that be like weekly, monthly, I don't know, set some sort of a date so that I have, you know, I have this much time to work on the next chapter, get that done, post it, people can read it, give me their feedback on it, and just kind of see, you know, figure out a way to improve myself as a writer from actually like a writing perspective. And I'm not talking about just universe mode where, yeah, I plan things out, but it's not exactly, you know, writing a novel. It's a completely different medium that I'm trying to write this for. It would give me a chance to speed up production on that and actually work on them, because the last time I think I actually wrote anything, like I said, I wrote sort of a plot synopsis, and I've gone into like character backstories and whatnot. I've worked to flesh out the characters, but if I don't actually have a book, a story to write them in, then the characters don't exist, and it's just wasted potential. And ideas don't tend to last all that long. While I do have it in writing now, I have a fairly strong idea as to like, okay, this is a major event, this is a major event, this is a major event, this is a major driving force for this character, this is a goal that this character is trying to achieve. It's gonna help me, like having that in writing is definitely gonna help me keep that idea alive, but at the same time, if I don't capitalize on the idea while I have it in my head, and while I have all of these ideas tying back to this one central idea, then I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss my chance to write it, and there's a potential story down the drain. Would the story be any success? I don't know, but if I want to actually do like script writing, or if I actually want to become an author or anything of the sort, I actually need to write. I can do all the research into writing as I want. I can analyze all the existing shows in the world and what they do right and what they do wrong. But if I don't actually write something on a piece of paper or type it up on a computer in a document, if I don't find a way to actually write, then I'm never gonna be a writer in any sense. And while that might not be my end goal in life, like that's what I want to be my job, I want to be a professional author. That might not be like my actual end goal for a career, but it would still be a pretty good hobby to have, because you see even a guy like Chris Jericho, he's in Fozzy, he's a wrestler for the WWE, but he also has published books, and that's just another way to sort of, you know, something else to do, something else to take up my time, something else to make money perhaps. Even if it's a complete flop, I might still make something off of it, I don't know. But even then, it's just a creative interest that I have where I could at least potentially explore it. Even if exploring that creative interest only leads me to failure, then I know, okay, that's not what I want to do. I didn't enjoy that, and I don't enjoy failing. I don't really have a direction where this point is supposed to go. I've sort of stated my piece with it, but I don't know. If you have any ideas as to what I could potentially do with that, let me know down in the comments section. That would, like I said, I don't know exactly how I would go about publishing this stuff. Like I said, I could set some sort of a deadline, try to, you know, get this much writing done for this point. I've tried, before I went to college, I had a goal where I'd write 50 words a day. And even like the number wasn't exactly the goal, it was just something to actually get me to start writing. And that worked for 2 weeks maybe, and then I stopped doing that, and that was several months ago. So, I don't know, if you have any ideas, there's a way that I could potentially capitalize on these ideas and publish them so that somebody could read them, maybe enjoy them, maybe just take a giant crap on my work and tell me that I suck. Well, anyways, just let me know down in the comments section. Shoot me your ideas, and I don't know, maybe I'll be able to turn it into something in the future. And while we talk about the future, 2017 goals, plans, what am I looking to do next year? Well, before we get to that, I of course want to talk about 2016. One of my goals for this year was to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers. And I'm a ways off yet. I'm at least 1,500 subscribers away from actually hitting that goal. And like I said earlier, I kind of set the bar a little high for myself in terms of the Royal Rumble. I was being way over the top in how I thought that video was going to do. But nonetheless, I'm still very happy with how the channel has progressed this year, both from a statistical standpoint in terms of views, subscribers, comments, even like Twitter followers. I'm really happy with how things have progressed because at the beginning of the year, I was sitting on a little over 5,000 subscribers, and I managed to kick that up to almost 8,500 by the end of 2016, and I'm proud with that. But moving forward, I would like, this is where it's not just necessarily goals for 2017, but goals just for the future. And that is this whole YouTube thing. I am a freshman in college at this point. Just gone through my first semester, did really well with grades and everything like that, as I stated earlier in the show. But this YouTube thing, here's where I gotta get serious for a moment. With regards to YouTube, back when I started this as a freshman in high school, I knew that I was gonna have at least 4 years to, just kind of find my footing if this was actually something that I wanted to do. Hopefully by the time I graduated high school, I would know. And that happened. I went through 4 years of high school, 4 years of YouTube. We're sitting where we are right now, 8,000 some odd subscribers, and I'm really happy with where we are at the moment. But I have to start considering life obligations. I have to start thinking about how I'm going to pay off this tuition. I have to start thinking about what am I going to do for a career? What is my passion? What am I actually looking to do? And YouTube may not factor into those plans. It all depends. If this is something, I sort of have this standard for myself where, well, not really a standard. I guess I should talk about like what my goal is. And the way that I've looked at YouTube, especially since last year when I was going into my senior year of high school, because, I knew that I was going to be going to college. That could potentially, my end goal for college is not just to waste time. It's not to go out and party and do all of this nonsensical whatever. But one thing that I looked at with college, it was another 4 years for me to try my hand at this whole YouTube thing. And especially with the first semester, trying to adapt with college, trying to find my place in all these different clubs, classes, you name it. With YouTube, I have had a bunch of extra time to actually work on this, to invest into the product. And like I said, I think my content has really improved because of it. Statistics have gone up, but also I feel like the quality of my product has improved, whether that be from a technical standpoint, looking at the matches, transitions, just all this sort of technical stuff. But then as well, like I said earlier, with writing, the storylines, the booking, all of that has improved tremendously. Whereas in the past, I didn't even have a plan. Now I have things planned out like 2 years in advance. Like I even have the main event of next year's WrestleMania and the year following that figured out. Do I know all the steps in between? Hell no. But I have a plan. I have a plan for where this stuff is gonna go. The only thing is, I am running out of time. I still have several years to really throw my attention at this, but I'd say if I can't hit probably about 50,000 subscribers at the least by the time I am going into my senior year of college, I'm probably gonna have to turn my focus to something else. Because once I have a full-time job, first of all, I'm gonna have to get a full-time job to support myself monetarily, financially, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to be able to, buy a house, support a family in the future, just all this, life stuff that I actually need to put attention towards, because, I'm not a kid anymore. I have to start planning out for life. And if I can't even support myself, the thing with YouTube is, like, people say, oh, you're in it for the money, and everyone's got this whole stigma about, like, oh, doing it for the money is bad. Doing it for the money is, you know, that's not what YouTube's about, man. It's about you broadcasting yourself and this and that and yada da and doing randomness like I'm doing right now. But honestly, when people can do this for a living, why not? Like, if you have the opportunity, the way that I've always viewed YouTube is if you have the chance to make money off of this, obviously it's more of a hobby, but if you have a chance to make any money off of something, why not? Like, why would you not take that? And I've obviously my videos are monetized. I'm with what do they call it? A network. There's another term, but I can't think of it. I'm with a network, so I've had my videos monetized for years. And do I make a lot of money off of this? No, not by a long shot. But if this was actually something, let's hold on. Let me take a step back here. The amount of time that I put into YouTube, that I have put into YouTube throughout high school and throughout my first semester of college, it's way too damn high. The Royal Rumble itself took, like, the match itself. You know what, I'll even throw in the other matches just to make sure that I have all my bases covered and I'm not really exaggerating the subject here. But the Royal Rumble pay-per-view was about 2 weeks where that was mostly what I did. I had a couple of assignments that I had to do in that span, but those really didn't take up much time at all. Most of that week, and I'm not just talking about, well, most of my free time, no, like, most of that week, like 8 hours a day, maybe even longer than that, I dumped into making the Royal Rumble. That was 2 straight weeks of production went into that Royal Rumble pay-per-view. That's not something I can do if I have a full-time job. That's not something that I could have even done at when I was in high school, because I didn't have that much free time, because all that time was taken up by being in the classroom, being at school, and then also working part-time. This first semester I don't work, and obviously class time is going to be cut down because it's college. You kind of do most of your work outside of the classroom. If I had a full-time job and also, you know, had to support a family or whatever else I'd be doing outside, sure, I'd have, you know, some extra time to work on YouTube, but the production, the amount of time that I put into this, no. That would not fly. I would not be doing anything else with my life at that point. Full-time job and, you know, dumping all of that time into YouTube, where if YouTube at that point, like, I would still, here's the thing, I don't plan on quitting YouTube when I graduate college, and if I do have to get a full-time job, which is what I'm expecting to have to do at this point, I don't ever plan on quitting YouTube, but then again, that's 3 years from now, so I can't really promise anything. If this is something where I want to actually continue to dump this much time into, to invest this much in, I have to get better. Like, I have to become more successful. Let me just say it this way. If I was making the money that I am right now, and this was my full-time job, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Like, I wouldn't be able to live anywhere. I wouldn't be able to pay for food. Like, it just wouldn't work. There's no way that it would work. And I know people, you know, you're not supposed to really talk about how much you make, so I'm not really gonna give a concrete number as to what I make making YouTube videos, but it's nothing. You cannot survive. Especially considering that you get paid once a month with the majority of networks that you're with, unless it's, you know, unless you're not even making enough money to be paid. Because I know when I was with Maker Studios, they would actually send out a check, and you had to hit like a certain minimum amount. And this was back when I was first making YouTube videos, and I was getting next to no views. So, you know, that would take me several months to get there. But now I do at least make enough where I'm, you know, making monthly some sort of money off of this. The way that I've looked at this in the past is like I can dump all of this time into it now, and now is my chance to do that, because if I want to actually have a shot at doing this for a living, then now is the time that I really have to invest into this. YouTube, when I first started out, I never really looked at it as something that I could do as a full-time career. The option would have been great. It's still something, like, it's a very far off goal. This would be the most extreme goal that I have. But now is the time to bring it up, because I'm 1 semester through with college, and like I said, my time is running out, so I actually have to start considering if YouTube doesn't work. And I know that subscribers don't necessarily translate to you know, that the amount of money that you're actually making. But usually once you hit a certain point, you're getting enough, you know, steady views that you can actually make a certain amount. And I know you could say, you could bring up the argument, well, you could start a Patreon. You could, you know, people could support you with their own, you know, people could pay to support you, to support your content. And that might be something that I could potentially look into in the future. I guess now would be the time that I should probably start, you know, doing research on that, seeing if it would actually be feasible at any point. But even in that case, I don't like the idea of, you know, financially supporting myself off of the generosity of others, just because I'm not making that money. So if somebody, you know, something happens to a number of people and they decide, well, I'm gonna stop supporting this guy for what, maybe it's their own financial reasons, or they're just not interested in my content. In any case, if they, you know, if all of those people just suddenly say, okay, we're done, then at that point I'm screwed. So I don't like the idea of, you know, that being a main source of, you know, couple that with the ad revenue or whatever. I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of that being the major source. I want to be able to at least make enough on YouTube where if I could do this and work part-time and that would support myself, that's kind of like my dream goal at the moment. That would be like, you know, best case scenario. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Because the way that I'm looking at it right now, if I were to go out and get a full-time job and say something would go wrong and I would end up getting fired, whether that be my own personal bunglings, or if something would happen with the company financially and, you know, say it just goes under or whatever, and suddenly I'm out of a job, I would like to be able to have YouTube to kind of bridge that unemployment gap where, you know, as I'm trying to find another job, I still have something that could bring in something, so I'm not just dead in the water. So that's why, looking at it from a long-term perspective, I would like to hit this certain point. I have this certain idea of where I should be. Like I said, this is a best case scenario situation where it's not something I expect to hit, but if I don't hit that mark, then I'm gonna have to start taking time away from YouTube, which is gonna be strange for me because of how much time I have invested into this channel. Because like if YouTube were to be shut down tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do with myself, because all the time, like, it's become a daily routine where, you know, I have to put some sort of work into YouTube in some capacity. So it would just be really weird to suddenly stop doing this. And like I said, it's something that I'd like to continue even as just a hobby in the future, but if it would become just a hobby, then, like I said, time dedicated to these projects is going to start to decrease, meaning that upload rate would start to decrease, you guys would be getting less content. So I kind of just want to keep you guys in the loop, keep you guys in sort of my headspace at the moment as to what I'm looking at with the future of this channel long term. It's kind of tough with something like YouTube because it is, you know, it has been around for 10 years, but actually doing YouTube for a living hasn't been around for all that long. And because YouTube, you know, like recently it had this algorithm, whether it was a change or a glitch, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but where suddenly, you know, you're not making as much, you're not getting as much views, whatever the case may be. And plus, the whole copyright thing, content ID, that's always a struggle because you never know when you're just gonna, one day your channel could just suddenly be taken down because you made a mistake or YouTube made a mistake. In any case, you know, it's a very risky thing to actually try to do for a living, which is why I'm not wholly interested in doing it for a living, because it seems like a really dangerous game. So that I would be sort of hesitant to go that far. But like I said, this and like a part-time job, if that could be the way that I support myself, that would be fantastic. But even just going forward, not expecting that to be the case. It is just sort of a fantasy at this point. But time would have to be, you know, allocated elsewhere, which would be a bit of an adjustment for me, like I said, because of how invested I have been in this for the past 4 years and will continue to be going forward for at least the next year or so. But I don't know, I just want to keep you guys in the loop with that. I guess I'm going to have to sort of separate this topic into two different sub-points, because that was really like long-term goals. Just looking at this year, I guess that was kind of important to say, because then it really sets the pace for like where where do I want this channel to go going forward? Like, what's gonna be my goal for next year so that, well, I guess for this upcoming year, what's gonna be my goal so that I can try to get to that long-term goal? If I even want that fantasy to have any sort of semblance of a chance of actually becoming reality, what do I have to do to get there? Seeing how my channel this year, we went from 5,000 roughly at the beginning of the year to about 8,500 roughly, and I'm overestimating in that case, so probably more like 8,250, 8,300, something in that range. But my goal for next year, I'd say if I could hit 20,000 subscribers, 20,000 is my goal. It's sort of like a double up from 10,000. My goal for the following year would probably be to hit 40,000 or something similar. So I don't know. I don't feel like setting the bar any lower than that because it's a nice even number. It's a nice round number, 20,000. I'm still looking at hitting 10,000 though. 10,000 is, of course, the first goal, which I'm confident that I'll hit it next year unless, knock on wood, something disastrous happens. And I hate saying stuff like that because usually that jinxes it, but we'll see how things play out. If I'm lucky, which I don't think I'm gonna actually hit 20,000 by the end of next year, but I want to set that bar high because even if I fall short, it gives me, you know, a motivation to really try to work to get there. You know, really try to work towards that, because if I set it any lower than that, you know, it doesn't feel like I'm working for, like, what if I set it at like 15,000? Okay, but 15,000, that's something that I think I could hit. Just looking at, you know, trying to do my math work and try to figure out, you know, how exponentially, you know, it's like the pyramid effect where one person tells a person, then you got two people, those two people tell another people, then you got four people, and those four people tell another person, not proper English, I don't care. You know, it just sort of spreads out. So that's why I feel like 15,000 I don't expect to be a problem, although that could actually be a problem. I don't know, maybe I'm just calculating improperly. But 20,000 is the goal. It's pretty high up there, but I'm gonna set it there anyway. Obviously, I missed my goal for this year. I think I missed last year's goal, because last year I think my goal was, I don't remember what my goal was for last year, actually. But regardless, that's my goal. Otherwise, in terms of not statistical things, my goal for WWE 2K17 is to try to publish videos as frequently as possible. And now that I have the GM mode, the Pokemon stuff that I'm working on behind the universe, perhaps, you know, these anime videos, whether or not those succeed or not, could definitely play a bit of a factor, I guess. But still, my goal for WWE Universe mode for 2K17 is to try to get up to that point where first pay-per-view 2K18 will be SummerSlam. That just seems like a good routine that I'm kind of at right now. You have that big pay-per-view to kind of kick off the year. 2K15, it was the Royal Rumble. 2K14, it was SummerSlam. 2K16, it was SummerSlam. Just kind of keep the cycle going. My goal is to get back to that point. It's going to be a bit of extra work to actually get there because I think looking at my average sort of pay-per-view rate, now that my quality has stepped up, looking at 2K16, I also have to throw in King of the Ring in there because that was, you know, another pay-per-view scale production, even though calendar-wise it was in the middle of the month. I had SummerSlam, Night of Champions, King of the Ring, Battleground, Survivor Series, Fastlane. That right there is 6 pay-per-views. So if I look at it this year, we have Royal Rumble, Roadblock, WrestleMania, Payback, Extreme Rules. Those are probably going to flop at some point, or like switch spots. Then we throw in Battleground, which is going to follow either one of those two, which puts me at 6. I still have one more pay-per-view. I have that July event that I have to hit. And in 2K15, that wasn't that difficult because my production quality wasn't as high as it is now. So I know it's going to be a bit of extra work to actually hit that 7th, but because I have the extra free time at college, I think I can do it. WrestleMania is going to be a big investment, but the way that I have my schedule mapped out at the moment, I think I'm going to be able to hit it. I was able to get Royal Rumble done for November, able to get Roadblock mostly done. It should be done by the time the 30th rolls around. Like I said, I'm recording this beforehand, so I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to be at that stage. But Roadblock should be done end of December. Gives me some time to work on WrestleMania. Once I get that out of the way, the Slammy Awards, the draft, all that stuff. Once I get that out of the way, should be able to roll straight into the rest of the content that I'm trying to produce. So I think I can hit it. Other than that, I would really like to be able to get a 3DS capture card. I've discussed it in my Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, or not Mystery Dungeon, I've discussed it in my Pokemon Gale of Darkness series, but not a lot of people watch that, so just to kind of give it a heads up here, perhaps give it a bit more attention. My goal is to try to be able to purchase a 3DS capture card so that I could potentially I would have more material that I could work with for Pokemon videos. Because I don't like recording from emulators, playing Pokemon on a computer. It's not really my type of thing. I'm not really a PC gamer at the moment. I'll probably get there one day, but as of right now, I just enjoy playing Pokemon, you know, on the handheld. It's what I'm used to. It's what I'm comfortable with. I feel like I get the most enjoyment out of it that way. So my goal is to try to be able to purchase a 3DS capture card. They're in short supply, very difficult to find, very expensive, and I can definitely set aside the money for it, but just trying to actually get a hold of one is the problem. So my goal is to try to be actually able to get that and do some other Pokemon series that I've been looking to do. I'm really interested in making a Mystery Dungeon series, doing some more Nuzlocke where I can actually cover Generation 4, 5, 6, heck, maybe even 7. I could do some Sun and Moon stuff. That'd be pretty cool. But not entirely sure where I'm going to be right now. It's again just a waiting game until I can actually get that capture card. I do have Gale of Darkness and Coliseum content to continue producing up until that point, so hopefully that can get me to a stage where I'll actually be able to purchase a capture card for the 3DS. With regards to Pokemon content, though, it's still going to sort of be the least consistent content, I would say, in terms of upload rate. Probably one a week. That's what I'm working at right now, and that's what I'm going to try to work at in the future. The anime videos, it all depends on what all I can come up with. Those are going to be kind of like Behind the Universe, which I guess technically Behind the Universe is the least consistent series at the moment, but because it would be more time invested into those, specifically, those would be the least produced. Like probably one a month. One a month has been my goal for Behind the Universe from the beginning, and I've done a pretty good job at hitting that. Obviously with 2K17's release, was unable to sort of get that October upload, but I made up for it with the 2 recent Behind the Universe episodes for December, and I think both of those were really good. I have plenty of ideas for that series moving forward, so I'm still going to stick to one a month. The anime videos would probably be even less frequent than that. It does depend on how well they go over, though, because, you know, if they go over well and people actually want to see more of those, then I'd probably try to dedicate more time to those. Where would I take that time away from? I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily be taking time away from anything, because most of my GM stuff is pre-recorded. The Pokemon stuff is mostly pre-recorded, so it's just a matter of editing those, which is pretty simple at that stage. Universe mode, you know, takes up the majority of my time anyways. Behind the Universe, I don't know, I don't really necessarily think I'd be taking time away from anything. I guess technically I'm taking a little bit of time away from Universe mode, a little bit away from just everything in general, but that's not necessarily like I'm taking X amount of time away from this series, and as a result, it's going to be uploaded less frequently. I'm good. I know how to manage my time with YouTube. I know how to balance that, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And now that I've talked about everything, just about everything I could talk about, even maybe some extra stuff, we've probably gone over the hour mark. We've gone over the hour mark. Even if I've cut some stuff out, I should still have plenty of juicy dialogue from me to fill up an hour of a State of the Channel video. It's the longest one yet, but obviously if you're still sticking around to the video, then you could have skipped ahead. You could have skipped ahead, because I have put the timestamp there. You guys were waiting for the Q&A. Put it at the end of the podcast thing. Should I make this a podcast? I don't know, maybe I could. But I put the Q&A at the very end so I could kind of talk about everything else beforehand. If you guys were waiting for the Q&A, it's here. So I'm not gonna waste your time anymore. Let's just get straight to the first question. Any advice for someone for YouTube? What do you think makes this universe mode unique? Well, in terms of YouTube, really nothing that I haven't covered before. My Behind the Universe episode on the Royal Rumble, I talked about, make sure you have a good, HD footage. Make sure get yourself a capture card if you're doing gameplay, or get yourself, a decent enough camera, webcam of some sort, because I'd say more so the audio production is what would turn me away from a video, but the visuals are a big thing as well, because if you're recording with a potato and I can't tell what's going on, you know, there's other things that I could watch, that I could spend my time on that, you know, visually are not straining my eyes. And as well, you have to be entertaining. Even if you're just rambling on about nothing, if you present it in some sort of way that is able to keep people's attention, I know, be entertaining. It's not really the best advice, but obviously if you don't have something unique to yourself, if you're not doing something that, well, I should say, if you're doing something that has been done 1,000 times before, it's not really gonna work for you. Even if you do something that has been done before, but take a unique spin on it, add something different, something even just, you know, something tiny that makes it slightly unique from everything else, even if it's, you know, the concept, like universe mode, for example, to move on to the next part of your question. Universe mode, what makes it unique? Just any universe in general. So if I take a look at, let's say Skino's a good buddy of mine. You take a look at his universe mode and compare it to mine. What I feel like what makes mine unique compared to his, well, first of all, he goes way all out with the production. Like, he's got awesome graphics. If you haven't checked out his stuff, do it. You should do that. Check it out. It's quality stuff. But obviously, the commentary is what's going to be a big deciding factor comparing any universe to each other. So if you take a look at Skino's commentary versus my commentary versus Delzinski's commentary versus Brennan Plays commentary, Mike Vita's commentary, Murph's YT13, I'm just naming people off the top of my head. But if you take a look at all of those videos, you take a look at any of those, compare one against the other, the commentary is what's going to be the big difference. And of course the editing as well. Because for someone like Brennan Plays, he does simulation, whereas mine, I control everything. I book everything out, I play all the matches, so that's, you know, sort of the difference in that regard from like a broad scale. But I feel like what makes mine unique is that I put a lot of investment into each individual character. It's not something that I did in the past, which is why those previous series that I've done, like, let's say the first half of 2K15, 2K14, WWE13, really the majority of the stuff that I've produced, I wouldn't say was anything special in terms of uniqueness, in terms of, obviously some people found something to enjoy out of it, which I'm not saying that there's nothing of merit in those series, but nowadays I put a lot of effort into each individual character. If I'm going to include somebody, even someone as minor as like Heath Slater. You know, Heath Slater back when he was a jobber, before he was with the Outcasts. Heath Slater, I still tried to go out of my way to make him a unique jobber. And the same could be said for Fandango as a part of the, you know, his whole party animal shtick. Even just like when I'm writing a promo, or even if I'm not writing a promo, just something that, the way that I address them in terms of commentary, I try to find some unique quality to that person and really just try to amp it up, try to flesh that out a bit more, try to develop that. So looking at a guy like Heath Slater, he would always come out, you know, showboating, he's way over the top, you know, Heath Slater, baby! And he's just really deluded, he's delusional. Like, what is he saying? He's so caught up in his own hype. And then if you take a look at someone like Seth Rollins, for example, I mean, this man, he's a coward, yes, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really back down from every single fight. You know, he might be a coward in that he runs away, but he lives to fight another day. He doesn't just run away for the sake of escaping. You know, he runs away because he's got a plan. And he's very aggressive, you know, he'll go out and he'll try to, with like Dean Ambrose, he's tried to destroy this man on numerous occasions. And has he run away from Dean Ambrose? Yes. Has he tried to avoid fighting him? Yes. But that's because Seth Rollins, he wants to fight on his terms. I was kind of talking a lot about something, but hopefully that kind of gets the idea across. What makes my series unique, I would say, is that the storylines, that's easily my best aspect of it, is the booking. I feel like I am one of the strongest bookers on YouTube. Not to say that I'm better than this person or this person, but I feel like I do put a lot of time into the storylines, and I have a very strong idea of where things are going to go, and even like at the end of a storyline, what's going to happen to this person because of it, where are they going to go after that. Not just the impact of the storyline in the moment, but also like what are the ramifications of that going to be, and how is that going to affect that person's next storyline, and then, you know, how's it going to affect the storyline after that. I feel like I put a lot of attention into the characters and the storylines. I kind of rambled on that a little bit. I do apologize, but hopefully that gets the idea across. Who is your favorite luchador? That's kind of a tough question because I've only been exposed to the people in WWE. And so I'd have to say my favorite luchador is Rey Mysterio, just because as a kid growing up, I was a big SmackDown fan. So you had guys like Batista, The Undertaker, Edge, and, you know, towards the later half you had Triple H, Jeff Hardy, CM Punk. Whereas then you also throw in a guy like Rey Mysterio. You know, he's this underdog. He's completely outmatched by everybody else, but still being in the mix. I don't know, Rey Mysterio is just the one who stands out in my mind. What is a good free editing software? Well, I heard that Windows Movie Maker is kind of okay. Honestly, in terms of free editing software, I haven't really done a whole lot of research into that. I apologize. Not the best person you could ask, but I'm sure there are YouTube videos on it. There are articles and, like, you know, Google it, YouTube it. I'm really not the person to ask. I'm sorry. I use Sony Vegas. I've used it for several years now. And who is your least favorite wrestler? Least favorite wrestler. See, for a while there, I might have said a guy like The Miz, but I don't know. The Miz, he's really changed his character. Well, not really that he even changed his character, because the thing about disliking The Miz is that it works for The Miz, because you're supposed to dislike him. But more recently, the stuff that he's been, you know, he's really sort of reinvented himself and re-energized his career, so I can't really say it's The Miz. Least favorite, though. That's tough, because even like with jobbers like Fandango, Heath Slater, Zack Ryder, I still see potential in these guys, and that's kind of my problem. And it's not just in Universe Mode, but in the WWE in general. Like, I look at all of these guys, there isn't really anyone that I can look to and be like, yeah, that guy needs to go. I don't like him. You know, there's nothing of value I can find in this guy. With everyone on the roster, yes, everyone on the roster, except maybe the guys I don't know in NXT because they haven't really developed their characters yet. But let's just talk about the main roster here. Everyone on the main roster, I see value in, except Eva Marie. You know what? Eva Marie. And that's kind of my problem with the Universe Mode as well, is that, like, I find value in all these guys, so I kind of want to push everybody, even though I can't, and that's when I kind of have to weigh my options. Okay, who has the most value in terms of, you know, the story? But the easy answer, Eva Marie. What YouTube subscriber number would you like to hit in the future? Well, I did talk about this earlier on in the video, but in case you just skipped ahead to the Q&A, I'll answer it again here in just a shorter fashion. Moving forward, this is something that I would like to do. My dream sort of fantasy involving YouTube is that if I could work part-time and still make YouTube videos and be able to support myself, or work full-time and just in case, you know, maybe I lose that job or the company goes under and I'm out of a job, that I'd be able to support myself on YouTube for, you know, a short amount of time while I'd be able to actually reach that new job, a new position. So it would be kind of like a bridge period that I'd be able to actually support myself. So it's not really a number that I'd like to hit, more as like a status I'd like to be able to hit on YouTube, where this is something not necessarily that I can do full time, but something that I could still be able to focus a decent amount of time to, because I really do enjoy making these videos. And I guess if I had to put a number on that, I said earlier in the video 50,000 by my senior year in college, which is really asking a lot. I don't see myself hitting that number. Realistically, if I actually wanted to be at a point where I think that I could support myself and like do this and a part-time job as my living for, you know, a decent amount of time, I'd say maybe somewhere between like 50 to 75,000 subscribers. I could say 100,000, but nowadays I'm not entirely sure if you need to hit that number to be able to reach sort of my kind of monetary goal regarding YouTube. And I know it's not all about the money, because like I said, I really enjoy doing what I do here on YouTube, which is why I'd like to be able to make money from it and support myself so that I could continue to devote more time to this channel. But I'd say probably about 50 to 75,000. It's just a ballpark estimate I'm going to throw out there at the moment. It's more of a dream number than anything, so it's not like my expectations for the channel. but it's a number that I'd like to hit it because, like I said, it's a fantasy. So if I could hit that, make my fantasy a reality, be awesome. What superstars did you attempt to push in your universe mode but failed in the process? And also, in regards to this question, I'm also gonna talk about, what storylines, any failed storylines that I had. In that regard, most of what I could talk about is either going to be discussed in a Behind the Universe video or has been discussed already. But in terms of superstars that I attempted to push but failed, obviously Batista comes to mind. I really flopped with him back in 2K14, 2K15 as well. Just looking at other names that I potentially would have liked to have given more attention, obviously Damian Sandow, I've stated that in the past, but I never really attempted to push him. Zack Ryder, I would have liked to give him a bigger role, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately. Him not being in WWE 2K15 kind of derailed any potential momentum that I could have given him, and because I did use him as a created wrestler, but never really gave him the time of day. The only other name that I can really think of who never had a chance in the spotlight, who I potentially could have moved up, would be Jack Swagger, because after his United States Championship run happened, that was at the time the longest championship reign in the history, and it stood that way for a decent amount of time until Ryback broke the record, which was, that was several months at least. But Jack Swagger, I feel like I had the chance where I could have moved him into the main event, into the WWE Championship scene, which I did Elimination Chamber, except that he really wasn't much of a factor in that match. So I'd say Jack Swagger probably would be the other name to throw in that mix. As for storylines in general, nothing that I really haven't covered or will cover in a future video that I don't want to spoil. Why did Cesaro, of all people, have to win over Shawn freaking Michaels? Oh wait, that wasn't for this Q&A. Who are your favorite wrestlers? Like I said earlier, I try to find merit in most of the superstars, if not all of them on the roster. But in terms of superstars who I would vehemently support, as a kid, my personal favorite would have been Jeff Hardy. By a country mile, Jeff Hardy was my favorite superstar as a child. But of course, other legends that you can throw in there like The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, just superstars who I kind of grew up watching, and they put on really entertaining matches. CM Punk, throw his name in there as well. If you want to talk about, well, I guess I should also throw Daniel Bryan's name in the mix before I talk about current superstars, because he technically doesn't compete. But Daniel Bryan, he was awesome. In terms of current day superstars, I'd probably have to throw in Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. No, Roman Reigns isn't in there. I'm not that interested in Reigns, and it's not even like I hate Roman Reigns. I love Roman Reigns. You have to be on one end of the spectrum. I'm just kind of in the middle where it's like, can we stop talking about Roman Reigns? He's not that bad. He's not that good. Can we just talk about somebody else? But yeah, I'd say guys like Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. Heath Slater, always been a big fan of Heath Slater, even since he was in NXT back before NXT was really NXT. Heath Slater, I don't know why. I think it might have even just been his look back when I was a kid, because I always wanted to have long hair and I could never really grow it out, and I don't know, Heath Slater just kind of had the look that I just liked as a kid. And of course, the whole one-man Southern rock band, baby. I don't know, Heath Slater he always sort of, I don't know, he just stood out to me. I really liked Heath Slater. And then of course, Wade Barrett's another name. He's not really currently in the WWE, but Wade Barrett, I was a big fan of him while he was in the WWE. Then his contract expired, and because I really only watched WWE and NXT, if he wrestles anywhere else, and in regards to anyone else who's not in the WWE, I don't really see their work, just because I already divide my attention up between a bunch of different other things, so I just don't have the time, nor do I really have the interest to watch any other wrestling product, which isn't, I guess, great for the wrestling industry. But in that regard, I don't know, it's kind of like how I am with video games, where it's I'm a casual wrestling fan, but also not really, because I have this whole YouTube channel where I promote wrestling in the WWE, so I don't really know. Then I'd also say Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, I always liked him. I won't say always, because when he first debuted, I guess he was kind of bland, but ever since Legacy, when he was with Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase, even as a kid where I was supposed to hate them, which I guess I did, but that meant that it was working. whatever he was doing. So I've always been a fan of Cody Rhodes. Even after he left the WWE, he's one of the people who I've kind of tried to keep track of. And when I say keep track of them, I mean like I hear about them every once in a while. So I hope that Cody Rhodes succeeds, especially because he's not in the WWE anymore. That's just, to see people succeed outside of the big W would be really good. Really would like to see that. Then in terms of women, I'd have to say, as a kid, Mickie James, Michelle McCool were my two favorites. No competition there. Current day women, Becky Lynch, my waifu, top of the list, best girl. No competition there. It's Becky Lynch, without a doubt. But otherwise, I do like Alexa Bliss. Paige, I was a big fan of Paige when really there were no other options in the women's division. Like there was AJ Lee, who I did like, but Paige was really the one who jumped out at me. Unfortunately, she's kind of, WWE hasn't really done much with her in the past year and a half or so, but I still really do like Paige, which is why I try to give her a prominent role in Universe mode. More recently, Emma has really caught my attention. You know, her match with Asuka back at NXT TakeOver, was it London? I think it might have been London. After that match, I was a huge Emma mark. So Emma, there's a lot of good women on the roster. So like, and when I find value in most people on the roster, it's really tough to say, hey, it's really tough to really pick out single entities, which is why I've been stuck on this question for so long. But hopefully that gives you an idea as to who I like. I liked mostly everybody, but my favorite wrestlers, I named probably too many to really be considered favorites, but there you go. How do you play matches with 2 controllers by yourself? Also, how hard is it for you? It's really difficult sometimes. Most of the time it's not too bad because the way I play the matches, one guy is on offense, the other guy is just getting beaten up, so I really only have to hold one controller at a time. And then like when there's a counter, I just switch controllers. It's not that difficult, but then it does get, there are times when it is really hard to actually get what I want to do. Especially when I try to do triple threat clips where there are 3 people on screen and I have 3 controllers, so I try to manage 3 controllers at once. It is nearly impossible. Certain things, it takes me multiple takes to actually get it to work. Even with just 2 controllers, it's been tough. But honestly, for the most part, it's not really that tough. There are certain occasions where it's tough to handle, but not really. It's not that hard because I'm mainly still only using one at a time. Most underrated women's and male wrestler. Well, I could tell you who I believe is the most overrated women's wrestler. Oh yes, let the flame war in the comments begin. Underrated women's wrestler. I don't really know in terms of underrated women's wrestler because I feel like they're all really good and they get the attention that they deserve. No one really stands out to me as being underrated in terms of like, you know, even if there's women who aren't necessarily getting the screen time that they probably deserve, I'd have to say that they have like enough of a fan base, people who support them, who I don't really know if I can necessarily say underrated, or if they're just not supported, if they're not getting much screen time, then they probably aren't that great, in my opinion. In terms of a male wrestler though, I always felt as though Heath Slater was underrated. He was usually the job guy, he was the comedy act, but I felt like there was more that he could have offered to the company. And of course now, I can't really say that as much because he had the run as tag team champ alongside Rhino. He was one of the big flavor of the week talking points, just kind of like James Ellsworth was for a while. From what I understand, he's not really it anymore, but I don't know because I don't really watch the product. And I don't know, Heath Slater, I'd have to say, for me, for the longest time, was the most underrated. Don't really know if I can call him that now, because while he was still a comedy act, he was champion, so I don't really know if that works. Other than that, I can't really think of anybody who is actually underrated, because the term underrated gets, you know, improperly used and overused enough. So I don't really know if I can actually consider anyone to be underrated, to be quite honest. Will AJ Styles be in any title shots? No. Would you plan on live streaming pay-per-views? This is something that I've thought about for a while, but I don't really think that I'm in a position where live streaming is feasible. My internet is kind of spotty at times. I don't know, I just don't, it's not that I don't see the appeal in live streaming. It'd be something that I would like to do in the future, not just in terms of live streaming Universe Mode pay-per-views, but live streaming things in general. But at the moment, I wouldn't really say that I don't have the schedule for live streaming, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like something that I'm really into at the moment. I don't think that live streaming the pay-per-views it would be cool to have people, you know, discussing the event while it's live and then having it go up later. But at the moment, I don't think that I'm really in a position where live streaming is the best call. Is it something that I'm looking forward to doing in the future? Yes. It's just that at this point in time, I don't really see that happening. So live streaming, it is definitely a potential idea for the future, but at the moment, probably not gonna happen anytime soon. And that wraps up the Q&A. That'll wrap up this State of the Channel podcast. It's been probably way too long, but it's unscripted. It's just a chance for me to vent, a chance for me to talk and say whatever's on my mind, talk about some important topics of discussion. Could be a bit more concise. Maybe I'll have to work on that in the future. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the State of the Channel 2016 edition. Be sure to stay tuned for future content. Be sure to stay tuned for everything that I have planned for 2017. I hope you had a fantastic 2016. A lot of people seem to say that 2016 was an awful year. I can understand why, but hopefully 2017 can be better. Even if you had a fantastic 2016, I hope you have an even better 2017. I'm looking to make 2017 amazing. Just words. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this State of the Channel before my brain explodes. Until next time, thank you for watching, and as always, keep on YouTubing.